Hello and welcome to Modio's second fireside chat. Today we'll be talking about the future of provider credentialing, which we explored in a recent Becker's article. We're really thrilled to have Dawn Goser, Senior Director of Product at CHG, and Rich Rupp, Senior Director of Engineering from Modio Health. We'll dive deeper into really the challenges and opportunities facing healthcare organizations as they strive to modernize their credentialing workflows. We'll be covering persistent pain points of the very manual processes and issues with interoperability. We'll also be talking about really what everyone is talking about, AI, and its potential to impact the credentialing space, and how we at Modio are helping organizations navigate really this rapidly changing landscape and hopefully ultimately improving patient care. My name is John Bowe, and I'll be guiding the conversation today. Dawn and Rich, thank you both for joining me. It's great to have you here. So let's just jump right into some questions. Dawn, this first one is for you. So the article really highlights the really significant burden and the inefficiencies of traditional credentialing. From your experience working with clients, what are some of the biggest pain points you see organizations facing?
No, John, thank you for having me here. I do think that there are significant pain points that our organizations are facing around the manual and labor-intensive and duplicative workflows that we've talked about. Often they're being asked to gather data again and again from the same providers, and that causes a lot of stress, along with the vast amounts of data that are coming from multiple different sources, having to be organized, kept in sync, and done in a certain time frame that allows us to be successful during the credentialing process.
Mm-hmm.
I would say administrative teams also suffer that burnout and that stress, which leads to delays. They often, have so much information that they're calling through that leads them to make mistakes sometimes. It increases stress and potentially higher turnover within those areas, and having to continue to retrain because there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of information that has to be culled through very diligently and to be verified. And that can also result in financial strains for the organizations as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And Rich, the second one's for you. The piece also really emphasizes the importance of interoperability and the need for a single source of truth around provider data, which sounds great in theory. We talk about it a lot. But what are some of the technical hurdles, in the way to really get there and make this a reality?
So some of the technical hurdles center around, sort of standardization, governance, a lack of a credentialing standard, and schema interoperability or compatibility between systems. As you know, there is no universal standard for credentialing today, which makes it difficult because the processes are disparate, not only on the external sources that are needed to do credentialing, but even the processes within an organization and how they do it per each organization.
And we know, accurate data is super important. What is being done at Modio to, both better facilitate data exchange and to make sure, the people using this data, and we know, accurate data, these data are getting sort of accurate data that they can trust. These data.
So within our organization, tight governance is important, and Modio often acts on behalf of clients to encourage tight governance on the system as well. We're looking to basically ensure that the information can be trusted and a single source, and we're looking for patterns and trends in that information that can be applied to help sort of benefit all clients. So for example, within CHG Healthcare, we have our own credentialing verification organization that tightly manages and governs the standards of information compliant with NCQA and looks for sort of improvements to the overall process and system to create efficiencies and processes around trusting and governing centrally managed data.
Got it, great. And then, and this question is for both of you looking sort of ahead. Do you both see some sort of promising advancements on the horizon around provider credentialing that you'd like to share?
From my perspective, I'm really excited about the streamlined workflows being empowered by automation and the opportunities that AI offers us. And when we look at how we do work to reduce time spent on routine tasks and improving our data management.
John. I'm really excited about making some of the technology upgrades that we're currently undergoing in support of sort of scalability, performance, improving security, in support of getting to a point where we feel comfortable that we can open up and start sharing information between organizations, whether that's through enterprise reporting or through public APIs, for example.
So you both mentioned, well, Rich, you mentioned sort of technology upgrades. Dawn, you mentioned streamlining processes, organizations, both large and small. What do they need to do to prepare to embrace, innovate, streamline processes, even further into kind of what you both are talking about, ultimately to really ensure the highest quality of patient care?
Yeah, see, John, from my perspective, I'm pretty excited. Rich talks about the interoperability, and I'm excited about the variety of solutions that we've implemented that allow us to support both small and large organizations that may or may not have the technology to intake that information in the traditional way through an API, where we've created items like through our Snowflake enablers, where we're able to share information to help empower them. Also allowing them to embrace technology solution like ours that embrace proven credentialing best practices as we build out our tools to help them streamline their process so that it becomes much easier for them to look at the current process that they do and maybe adopt some of those changes that we have seen time and time again help make a credentialing process more effective and efficient.
Yeah, John, and I'm extremely excited that we can leverage the knowledge of not only our own organization using our system, right, but also everyone else using the system to look for patterns in the data or in the processes that will benefit the entire population that is trying to do credentialing, whether that's payer credentialing or even provider credentialing.
Great. And last question again for both of you: what should healthcare organizations be thinking about now?
From my perspective, John, I think understanding where you're at and the risk inherent to your credentialing process and where your pain points are, and then being able to come in and evaluate your processes to see if there's a better way of doing different things, as well as investing in technology platforms like Modio in order to invest in your productivity and reduce the risk that you're encountering. From my perspective,
definitely, and I think, to be transparent and honest, one of the sort of biggest drivers for why a system isn't working for a client is often centered around the lack of standards and governance on data. And if we don't address sort of standardization and governance of data, it won't matter what system we put an individual in. The system will not do what it needs to do to the fullest.
Fantastic. Well, that is it. That wraps it up. Dawn, Rich, thank you again for joining today.